What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly Q&A. For our first question, James Rincon asks if seeing a live-action Thrawn also means we might see a live-action Eli Vanto.
You know what I love about Cobb Vanth, besides his
Here we go.
hair and his face and everything?
His face, his body.
The armor.
Yeah.
The way it doesn't quite fit.
Yeah.
The fact that I can say yes to this question. Like, it's absolutely possible. I don't know that it will happen, but yeah, it could.
So, I remember this character vaguely. I haven't read all of the Thrawn books, but doesn't he go off with the Chiss at some point?
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting thing. And I wanted to throw, like, Admiral Ar'alani into the mix here, too, because we don't know what they're doing at this point in time. Eli went off to join the Chiss Ascendancy and basically protect the galaxy from whatever is in the unknown regions. So we don't know where Thrawn's been for the past, 9 years at this point. He's back in the galaxy. Maybe he went to the Chiss Ascendancy and kind of joined some forces, and maybe he's come back. I still think they're going to treat him as a villain in the show. So I think he's probably coming back to try to build up Imperial forces. Timothy Zahn will say that that's so that he can better protect the galaxy. Mm-hmm. So I still think it's unlikely that Eli or Ar'alani would show up. But I'm like, it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I do like their origin story a lot, like the way that they met and how Eli, didn't really want to be a part of very much, but then he got sucked in via Thrawn. So yeah, I think it's definitely possible. It's not the first person that comes to mind. I'm sure, like everyone else, we're wondering about Ezra and, if we'll see any of the clones. But I think it would be cool if Eli was there.
I think that Captain Pellaeon is probably, if we're going to get a book character and pull them into live action as well, Pellaeon makes sense because you can cast almost anybody. I don't think anyone is married to this one image of Pellaeon. We haven't seen him in canon yet, but God, I'd love to see some more Chiss. The idea of seeing a Chiss warship in live action as well it's one of those things where I'm I never ever dreamed that it would even be possible that would happen, but The Mandalorian keeps doing stuff that I was I can't believe I'm seeing this, people playing this in live action on my screen. So it's possible. I think that chances are low, but I'll cross my fingers so hard.
So hard. Alden Diaz wants to know if we'll see any High Republic Jedi show up in future prequel-era storytelling. Ooh, I like this.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting question, because everyone's been talking about, we got Yoda, we got Jarl Poof, we got Appa Rancisis, Yaddle will probably show up at some point. But what about the other way? And Alden throws out Buryaga, a Wookiee, so someone that would, in theory, be around at the time of the prequels. Mm-hmm. And I could see that happening. Just kind of probably not in any major, I don't know, he could be in, he could be in the Bad Batch, but that's the bummer part of it, is that anyone that is still alive by that point has a likely very sad fate.
Mm. I mean, there were tons of Jedi that we didn't see in the prequels that were Jedi that were at the temple. I mean, we saw the Battle of Geonosis. There was a ton of Jedi there. I mean, a lot of them died, but there was a lot of people there, and
there are 10,000 Jedi at the time of the prequels.
Yeah.
We've only met a handful of them.
And yeah, absolutely, some of them are probably ones that are from High Republic. Now, whether or not they want to make that crossover with the specific characters that we're reading about, I don't know. I would like to see it, like you said, with the species that we know live a long time. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Again, I definitely think this is possible. It is just kind of one of those things where you're oh, but if they're alive at that time, it's going to be probably sad. It also could be something where Buryaga might be one of the Lost 20. We've been theorizing that it's not just one Jedi that has been mentioned as part of the Lost 20. Maybe a bunch of them leave during this point in time.
Noel Lopez asks why Luke never talks about Uncle Owen or Aunt Beru after leaving Tatooine.
Because for story purposes in A New Hope, they were literally just supposed to be obstacles for him. Obviously, it's sad and horrifying. I remember being kind of messed up by seeing those burnt corpses as a kid.
That image is singed into his mind.
Yes, very good. But I did want to point out that in Heir to the Jedi, someone did rectify that. Kevin Hearn, who wrote Heir to the Jedi, there's a actually really great scene where Luke goes a little bit dark side, thinking about all of the losses that he has endured over the past couple months when this story takes place. So he does mourn Beru and Owen and, yes, Biggs, which that book was just okay, but that scene was really good. I'm biased, of course, but...
I mean, yeah, it sucks. Like, the last time he saw them, he was, like, in a bad mood, and he was kind of arguing with them and unhappy about having to stay on for another season, and next thing you know, they're dead.
Yeah, it's something where it's like they're kind of just plot devices. There's something that's holding Luke back in the story. Obviously, yes, he's sad about it, and we have books to tell us that. When we get to The Empire Strikes Back, it's like that's 3 years down the line. So, but yeah, we get to see Luke mourning the death of Obi-Wan, and no one else really. But we see that he's sad.
Yeah. If you want to see more of either of them, I don't think Uncle Owen had a story, but Aunt Beru's story in a certain point of view, I thought was really good. And it's I don't know, it really spoke to me as like someone, she talks about like wanting to open a bakery or something.
I think it was a cheese shop.
Maybe it was a cheese shop, but she had hopes and dreams basically that she didn't get to fulfill, and it was an interesting backstory for her and gave her a lot of cool character. I
hope we explore them more in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. They did a good job, I thought, especially with Owen in the Star Wars comics by Jason Aaron that started in like 2015, that run. They did a lot of good stuff with Owen there, which, yeah, it shows that they treated Luke as a son. We only really get to see Owen being kind of gruff and angry in A New Hope, but he really, really loved Luke. So I hope we get to see more of that in Kenobi.
Phantom Jedi wants to know which area of Star Wars we know the least about. So I'll start and say the Old Republic. Do we need to stick with canon or?
No, I think anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Legends or the Old Republic, really. I know...
Are you talking about the entire era of the Old Republic, or...
Both.
Well, because my answer was going to be the Old Republic, but the MMO. That's... Yeah. I've never played the MMO. It came out when I was in college, and I was just like, I don't have really the time for this, and now it feels like there's so much. It's kind of daunting to catch up on top of everything else. I want to play it at some point. I think I should. But
I just don't really have an interest in like going back and reading all the Legends material. And I mean, the game sounds cool, and I know a lot of people love KOTOR, but I'm just like, I'm not really a gamer at heart. Books are
well, it's
reading.
Weird, like you like audiobooks, but a lot of the Legends books are heavily abridged.
Yeah.
And they're not... I remember trying to listen to Truce at Bakura a few years ago, and I was like, this is like 2.5 hours long. This is not the whole book. Like, I'm not getting the whole story.
Yeah. And, you know, it's just not for me.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm much more concerned with, like, the new stuff that's coming out, the High Republic, anything new. But I'm sure that I would like some of the Old Republic stories if I really dove into them.
Well, I think that But talking about Legends, you've had this idea for a long time that I agree would be really fun. It's just that I need to sit down and read the books. But to walk you through, like, okay, this is Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Here's what happens, and you can like stop me and ask me questions along the way, because some of those stories are so wacky. They're fun, but they have some crazy stuff in them. So I think that would be fun to go through together.
I'll never forget the comic image of Leia with the laser eyes.
Yes, well, it's a cyborg, not cyborg. It's a robot android, like a Cylon Leia.
See?
At Trioculus's wedding, I believe, who is one of the children of Palpatine.
No.
Crazy.
No thanks.
Crazy stuff.
Caleb Null asks, what Star Wars characters could have their own podcasts? What would they be called? And what would they be about?
I didn't think of a title for this. I'll have to brainstorm that real quick. But the person that I immediately thought I wanted to hear a podcast from was Dexter Jetster, because he sounds like he's friends with everybody. He could probably get a lot of really interesting guests to just come down to the diner and they could chat. He can answer questions. Like, maybe every time Obi-Wan comes in with a question, he's like, well, okay, but we have to sit down and do my podcast, and then I'll answer your question at the end. But he's got such an interesting past, it sounds like. He held a bunch of different jobs, and I'd love to hear his story while he talks to anyone else on Coruscant.
I like that. I agree. I think he would have a lot of fun stories to tell back when he was prospecting on Subterrell. My Star Wars character with a podcast would be Elon Sleaze Pagano. Hear me out.
Okay.
So he gets mind tricked by Obi-Wan at the bar, and Obi-Wan tells him to go home and rethink his life.
Uh-huh.
So he does, and he goes home, and he basically becomes a much better human being.
Okay.
And he spends a couple of months just wondering what happened, what clicked.
What turned things around for me?
What turned things around for me? And I don't know the exact science behind mind tricks.
Science, yeah.
If there is a science behind it, but some people know about Jedi mind tricks.
Sure.
So his podcast is called It Could Happen to You. And it's basically a support group for people who have been mind tricked by Jedi.
Okay.
But he's telling his story in a way that...
This is a good idea.
He's telling his story in a way that he's like, I'm a new man. I stopped selling death sticks. I turned my life around. I have a family.
The Sleaze Baganos, they're great people.
Yeah. And
adorable children.
It's like it could be like a call-in show. So people who think that maybe they've been mind tricked could call in, talk about their experiences. I think that would be great. I would listen to it.
I kind of love the idea that it's almost like a unsolved mystery, like one of those true crime podcasts. They're not talking about crime, but like one day TK1134 was just a stormtrooper doing his job, and then an old man waved his hand and he let the droids go, and he gets to tell his story of like, I don't know why I did that.
Yeah, and the stormtrooper that bumps his head, he has a story and certain point of view.
It's actually the same person.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So in that story, he gets mind tricked, and he's like all fuzzy and just like out of whack the next day or whatever, and that's why he bumps his head. It's just like he's out of it. And so maybe some of the people that call in has actually been mind tricked. Maybe some people are like, this is a conspiracy theory, like you control your own destiny, no one can trick you to do stuff. And anyways,
or someone calls in and they're like, I robbed a bank because I was mind tricked.
Yeah.
Like, okay, and you got to weed out the people who are just trying to blame the Jedi on their bad decisions.
Yeah, and it's a whole philosophical thing about like whether or not the mind trick is a good or an evil thing to do. We've talked about that before. Is it a light side or dark side kind of thing? But for Mr. Elon, changed his life for the better.
I'm going to put a poll I'm going to try to remember to put a poll in the cards, and you can vote on who had the better podcast idea, and it's Molly. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where we left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained content like audio commentaries for the films and for the Clone Wars. We're going through those right now. And this week's episode is Bounty, so that's available right now if you're interested. I also wanted to plug our Twitch show because we just haven't mentioned it in a while, but we've been doing something called Explain It to Me on our Twitch channel, where right now we're going through WandaVision and breaking down every single episode, kind of like we did with The Mandalorian, but we're having people who know more than we do about Marvel, and they are explaining it to us and helping us catch all the little details and telling us who surprise characters are. I don't know if I should mention stuff from the show. I don't want to spoil anything inadvertently, but yeah, we've been doing that every Friday at 6 p.m. on our Twitch channel, and this coming Friday will be the season finale.
On to YouTube questions. Hans Mark Tophole asks if Krennic could appear in the Andor series.
I think he could. I mean, that's more likely than Eli Vanto or Cobb Vanth appearing in anything, so...
Yeah.
It's possible?
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, how much of the Imperial side of things we're going to see in that show.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously... At some point, we'll see how Cassian gets K2. And then, you know, there's going to have to be some sort of bad guy.
Right. So is it going to be someone that we know and already have a connection with? I guess I think it would be a little more interesting to have a new villain. Have Krennic maybe pop in every once in a while, do a cameo here or there, but I think we need someone else to be the main villain. Or, you know, maybe it's like a different villain every season and we build up and then like Krennic is... I don't think I want him and Cassian to meet face to face or anything, but...
You know who should be in it?
We just don't know anything about this show.
Goran should be in it.
Admiral Goran?
Mm-hmm.
Nice pull. I I like Goran or maybe Ramda. You know, that could be kind of funny to see how Ramda winds up. He's treated as a bit of a buffoon, I feel, in Rogue One. It seems like a nice gig to be on Scarif, but it also seems like, I think the novelization said that was supposed to be like a safe, out-of-the-way job. So it would be funny if Ramda were like this character that kept showing up and Cassian kept messing up his stuff and he got demoted and demoted and demoted. Which, now that I think of it, they did that in Star Wars Rebels. There's a character who Ezra keeps bumping into, and they keep getting that guy demoted.
Mm. I mean, it's totally possible for Ben Mendelsohn to pop back up as that character. You know, they wouldn't have to age him down really that much.
I don't think so.
Do a little bit of like a skin smoothing filter.
I don't even think they're going to bother with that. Like, Cassian is supposed to be much, much younger, and it's like, Diego Luna looks great. We don't need
Are they going to show him at 6 years old fighting?
You know, I bet they will.
6-year-old birthday party is him fighting with other insurgents.
I think we are going to see some flashbacks, but I was like, now I have in my mind, like, it's still Diego Luna playing the character, but they just de-age him to the age of 6. What has technology done?
Bo Ling wants to know if Lucasfilm will do anything for the 40th anniversary of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I hadn't even thought about the idea that, this is the 40th anniversary of Raiders. A 4K set would be nice.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I can think of for them to do. I don't know. Is there like some never-before-seen stuff that they could release as a documentary? That would be the only other thing.
Probably, but I honestly, the only thing I can think of that I'd be like, yes, I want that is a 4K set. So, do that.
I mean, let's combine our ideas, have them release a 4K set with a bunch of bonus features in it.
New documentary, which I'm sure they would want to do that regardless. I don't know, do the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles too. Just get everything indie, make a big box set, like all the old books and comics as well, because like that's something I never really got into the Indiana Jones EU. So if they just conveniently packaged everything and let me do that.
Sure. Walker Vin asks if there will be a Jedi purge in the High Republic. Ooh.
I doubt it. It seems too close.
Too samey.
That too, but like the idea that they're at 10,000 Jedi during the time of the prequels. I guess we don't know how many Jedi there are in the High Republic. There could be 100,000, but I doubt it. I think it's more likely that the Jedi Order grew from the High Republic to the prequels. I don't think we're going to see, a purge. It would feel too similar, I think, but like we already mentioned, I do think we will see Jedi leave the Order. I absolutely, Jedi are going to die, but I don't think it's going to be, well, we've killed 90% of you again.
Yeah. And, we haven't really been introduced to that many Jedi, so I wouldn't say that there's going to be a purge, but like you keep talking about the Lost 20, they could change that around a little bit and just say that more than 20 of them left the Order completely.
That's true. The caveat for the Lost 20 is they were Jedi Masters that peacefully left. So some of them might not peacefully leave.
Yeah.
Some of them might not be Jedi Masters. We could see a pretty massive exodus of Jedi going I don't think I'm on board with this anymore.
Yeah, that would be more along the lines of the purge idea. If it were to happen, I think they would just be Jedi saying, okay, the Order is getting a little wacky.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bounce.
I still don't think 90%, a purge number. I don't think that's gonna happen.
No.
But I do like that idea. Just that's a different. It's different. It's a different showing of how Jedi were removed from the Order instead of okay, we just kill you all again.
Cody Cunningham wants to know if we could ever see Cad Bane and his showdown with Boba Fett.
I was ranting about this the other day while we were doing our commentary for Bounty because Boba Fett's in that episode. And I was just I really want them to tell that story, that unfinished arc. I need to see that in some capacity.
I definitely think it's possible. I just don't know where to show it.
My hope right now, and I think a lot of people are on board with this, fans anyway, is to have it in the Bad Batch. It seems like it would still fit. We haven't seen Cad Bane in forever. Boba Fett, we don't really know exactly where he is at, but I think that with the book of Boba Fett coming and his return in The Mandalorian, people are getting psyched for Boba Fett again. So it makes sense to put him into the series and be okay, we're going to tell the story of how he got his armor, how he became the greatest bounty hunter or equal to Cad Bane, and we're finally going to show it. What I don't know, the thing that makes me think they might not do that is the fact that, George, wrote that story. And I don't know if they would want to do it without his blessing, which, they could get, but they would also be changing, when it took place, but not by much. Mm-hmm. So
I agree. I think having that as one of the arcs in Bad Batch would be really cool. We still don't know. Well, at this point, we know it's starting on May 1st.
4th.
May 4th. We don't know how long the season is going to be. We don't know how many seasons there will be.
We also don't know if they're going to be arcs.
Right.
It could be very episodic, and I assume with it called The Bad Batch, they're not going to do a whole arc where the Bad Batch isn't present. So they would have to rework that story pretty heavily, I assume. They could still do it, but
would you want to see this happen as a flashback in live action for the Book of Boba Fett?
Maybe, but it sounds like they wrote at least a 4-episode arc for this story to be told, so that's a lot to just cram into a flashback. I'm starting to think it's more likely that we'll see it in a comic or a book, but if they just heavily reworked how the story went down so that the Bad Batch were involved, Like, you're not pushing it down the timeline too much. It's just after Revenge of the Sith instead of just before it. So maybe it could happen.
Kelp Babsar asks if we ever get overwhelmed thinking about Star Wars.
I don't know. I guess sometimes.
I know I do, but I think that has more to do with just how long I've been a fan and how long I've known about everything that I know now. I just get overwhelmed trying to piece together the timeline sometimes.
Well, I guess I don't know why I said I don't know, because we were definitely a little overwhelmed when like The Mandalorian was out, and we were just trying to do a lot, and I liked it. It was a good an exciting kind of overwhelming, but it was also, when season 2 was over, I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I think the overwhelming feeling, part of it is the content creation.
Right.
So watching Mandalorian, that wasn't overwhelming. That was exciting and fantastic. Yeah. But we had to watch it once, do a review, watch it again, do a commentary, maybe watch it a third or a fourth time, do a live stream talking about it, really breaking it down, picking it apart, finding all the Easter eggs. Like, that starts to then make it feel a little overwhelming, but it's just because of the content that we're trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's still energizing. Like, right now, I would say I'm not feeling super overwhelmed with Star Wars. There's a book coming out every month, and there's comics to keep up with, but I'm mostly like, come on, Bad Batch. Like, I'm ready to have that discussion again with other content creators and stuff, and to have something exciting to talk about every week. But yeah, I'm also kind of dreading 2022 when it's like, oh, we're going to have like a Star Wars show probably almost every week. It sounds like there's just going to be a lot, but
it's going to be fun.
It'll be fun, but it'll be a lot.
I could see how some people, like, when new books come out, if they don't, get it and read it right away, and another new book comes out, and another one, like, that I could see becoming a little bit overwhelming for some people. Like, for me, I just am not as fast of a reader, and I don't, like, retain the knowledge as well unless I just really sit down, listen to the audiobook, read the book, at the same time. So that's why I've missed a couple of books along the way.
Well, you're also just a lot choosier about, like, that this is going to interest you and this is not.
Yeah,
and
I read Alphabet Squadron and I was like, no thanks. I'm not going to read the other ones.
It's fine. You're allowed to be wrong. Whereas I'm like, no, I'm going to read all of it. And I know that I'm not going to love all of it, but I'm still going to give everything a shot.
Mm-hmm. But when I talk about content creation, like what we do on the channel for you guys, especially like the live streams and stuff, it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, we're so happy and thankful to be able to do what we get to do.
Absolutely. Like, we don't want to make it sound like it's this daunting thing. It is, but like, it's a fun thing to, like, we wake up early and we're like, it's Mando time. Let's go.
Yeah. The content creation is what we want to actively do. We want to do all these things, but like any other job, even if you love what you do, you can get burnt out every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like we had 8 weeks of really, like, we're going so hard and we're doing a review and a live stream and a commentary, and then we're doing videos about that episode until the next one comes out, and it's so energizing. But I remember that feeling of it being over and being like, we did it.
Plus, we know so many other people that do similar things that we do, podcasters, whatnot, and we guest on some of their shows, talk about the same thing.
That's true.
That's like another level of, like, talking about the same episode again. which still fun, but I think you guys get what I mean at this point.
That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitch.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.